The Rise of the Ogre. Episode 4. Read by Joss Ackland. November the 5th, 1998. Gorillaz play the Camden Brownhouse. This is their first concert as the Gorillaz lineup we now know and love. The gig is a barnstormer. Murdoch had loaded the evening up front, already putting in the call to A&R man Whiffy Smiffy at EMI.
Sign us at our first gig, man. It'll be great press for both of us. The kids will think some kind of phenomenon, some kind of movement's happening. Oh yeah, do something wicked. It'll get us noticed.
Whiffy Smiffy was an old hand at the music game, and despite signing the odd clunker, this was a man who could take a Pepsi challenge and come out sipping Cristal. When it came to bands, he knew his onions.
As soon as they played punk, I knew I'd seen the future of music. It hit me around the face like a wet kipper against a shed door. Other labels had come down to check these Gorillaz out, but I booked my double-barreled friend, the negotiator, down with me. No contest.
There was a riot match. Whiffy, with inimitable style, let off a few rounds from his pump-action sawn-off, forced his way through the crowds, and grabbed those all-important signatures. Gorillaz was signed. One gig, one song. November the 6th, 1998. The Gorillaz record label signing party. For the signing party, the record label pulled out all the stops, with no expense being spared.
It was a very decadent bash, and
Murdoch makes the point.
from me, that's saying something. They hired a palace and sort of decked it out like a Baroque bordello. Some bird with 3 knockers jumped out of a cave. Vodka flowed like Niagara Falls. A couple of tigers on roller skates had been thrown into the mix to keep things, sort of exotic. They also presented us the check for the advance. And tackily, they gave us one of those really big, super-sized checks on cardboard or whatever it is. I can't tell you how much of a dick I felt carrying that down to Barclays. Although at least I can say I didn't lose it. Yeah, well, how could I? It's enormous.
The evening gradually faded into a food fight. One so violent that 2D had an eclair pushed hard enough into his face to knock his tonsils out. However, the evening wasn't a total waste of time that these events so often are. Smiffy had brought along some old-school backup. Okay, Gorillaz were good, really, really good. But there's no harm getting a little extra guidance when it comes to crunch time, eh, listeners? Mr. Whiffy introduced us to Damon Albarn, 2D recalls, the singer from the British band Blur. Him and Murdoch didn't really get on immediately due to the kind of competitive one-upmanship they both display. The first thing Damon said to Murdoch, pointing down at his boots, was, "Your Cuban heels are crap. Look, mine are the proper sort." Damon was wearing a pair like Murdoch's, but with solid silver heels and big fancy gold spurs. I think Murdoch was a bit humiliated. He's very proud of his shoes. However, Gorillaz and Albarn swiftly became close friends, bonding over a mutual love of great music, coupled with a shared Genghis Khan-like sense of ambition. His support and input, despite what Murdoch maintains, has been an invaluable asset to Gorillaz from the outset. He became a paternal figure, sometime producer, and an ingenious fixer for the band. It was his knowledge of the industry that without a doubt helped Gorillaz avoid some of the more obvious pitfalls. Murdoch, however, once again had more pressing matters to attend to that evening than hanging out talking about music. Mr. Nichols had his thieving magpie eyes on 2D's new belle, the lovely young chanteuse, Miss Rachel Stevens. He spent most of the evening lulling and beguiling her with his magical, intoxicating mantra.
Go on. Go on. Go on. Go go on. Oh, go on.
Finally, when she could resist his potent charms no more, she threw her drink in his face and stormed out. 2D and Rachel split up the next day due to Murdoch's incessant pestering. Stewpot, she explains, that's 2D's real name, well, we were deeply in love. Well, I mean, I still do love him, but it's just that Murdoch, every time 2D's back was turned, he was like trying it on with me, and it kind of just ruined our relationship, you know, and actually it ruined a couple of my T-shirts, come to think of it. Having banked the 7-foot check, Gorillaz wasted no time in decking out that Kong Studios shell with the high-tech super-slick junk that you can see there today. Spazzed to the max, Gorillaz undertook the enviable task of recording the world's greatest debut with themselves at the helm. As Murdoch explains,
Well, if the ship crashes, there's no one else to blame but ourselves. It suits me fine.
November the 31st, 1998. Gorillaz commenced recording of the album at Kong Studios. Whiffy set Murdoch, 2D, Russell, and Noodle to task. Give me the goods, he told them, and I'll do the same for you. Agreed?
All right, Smithy.
Says Murdoch.
You know, no need to sound all dramatic. That's what we agreed by signing the contract, surely. So keep your stupid ginger wig on, mate. I'm about to blow your mind.
Gorillaz knocked out 40 tracks, then cut them down to 15 mini masterpieces. The buzz around Gorillaz was spreading through the music world like wildfire. The new kids on the block were hot, and everyone knew it. Despite every attempt to keep things under wraps until it was finished, the first in a long line of superstar collaborators popped round to borrow some sugar from the residents of Kong Studios, and ended up appearing on the album. The first up to the batter's mound. Miho Hattori confirms Russell, the Japanese singer from Chiba Mato. She harmonized with Noodle on the vocals for Rehash. The track became the opener for our debut album. Now might be a good point to go into the history of Kong Studios, the fantastic Willy Wonka-type cathedral of crap that Gorillaz live in. How the hell did Murdoch ever acquire such a grand decaying palace of sin before Gorillaz even sold a single record, huh? Well, we hear here now from the man himself, here.
Bin the thesaurus for a second, and I'll tell you what happened. I was up late one night, scouring the internet. I was living in a freezing bedsit at the time. The heating had broken down, and I was looking at a site about, I don't know, dodgy boilers. Anyway, I came across this website called Gigantic Disused Haunted Studios in the Middle of Nowhere.com. The owners were looking for an off-season caretaker to look after the place during the winter. They said in the ad they'd be back in 6 months, but I got the impression that they were trying to get rid of the place for good. And when I turned up at the interview, obviously the only applicant, they chucked the keys at me and then ran off down the hill screaming. Yeah? I just looked at the place and thought, wow, I'm home. You can make as much noise as you like here. I used the place as a studio base initially where we put Gorillaz together, but it became our home, our headquarters, and also the online gateway between us and our fans. Right from very early on in Gorillaz' career, we made sure that people, had access to the joint. By hooking up cameras in every room, people could check out what was going on at Kong Studios via the website Gorillaz.com.
The website, Gorillaz.com, has been incredibly well received, winning many awards for its innovative and pioneering approach. From the date of its launch to the present day, Gorillaz' website received more hits than all the other acts on the band's record label combined. We filled the place up with games, toys, videos, and many interactive elements, adds Noodle. We created message boards where our audience members and people who entered the website could talk to each other. We tried to be as creative and all-embracing as the technology would allow. We even left tapes and samples of our music lying around, allowing people to mix their own versions. 2D adds a note of caution.
Yeah, it's all very cool, but I'm a bit bothered about the number of people that can go into our bedrooms and touch our stuff. I think that's weird, really.
Between the 1st of June 2005 and the 1st of June 2006 alone, over 82 million rooms and games were visited at the site. And in June 2006, Gorillaz were awarded Webby Artists of the Year.
That is, well, it's a bit like your house winning an Oscar.
Russell continues,
Nearly every aspect of Gorillaz is documented and archived here at Kong and Gorillaz.com. Our videos premiere online. We mail out all the info about what we're up to. We've run competitions from the site. It's endless.
This odd, spooky building continues to grow daily as new sections are constantly added, but its dark past and rent-free ownership remained a mystery, until one night Noodle discovered the truth behind this haunted hilltop hellhole. Deep in the bowels of Kong, Noodle came across an archive library room where she learned the terrible legend of Kong Studios, a building with a checkered history that stretches far back. Prior to any construction, the original site was a druid's meeting point, picked specially for its unique alignment of dark energies and hideous ley lines. Various members of the Goat Clan would converge on the Essex hilltop site at certain points in the lunar cycle and inhale vapors while tunelessly chanting into makeshift cauldrons. The first Kong building was erected on top of an old disused cemetery. Many of the people who died in the Great Plague of 1665 were dumped there in shallow graves and burial pits. Yeah. The Kong Mansion, which still stands today, was built in 1749 to house the decadent hedonist Sir Emmerich Kong, a giant barking brute of a man who would host the debauched sadistic meetings of his King Kong Club. Having satisfied their more physical desires, he and his fellow club members would sit around talking rubbish far into the night. It is said that his ghost still wanders around Kong kitchens in the early hours, moaning in deep haunting tones for
a glass of water.
The current building is also situated next to one of the biggest landfill sites in the country. It's not just fridges, washing machines, and tractor tires. We're talking about old nappies, colostomy bags, mad cows, and rotten alien torsos. In the middle of summer, when the heat rises, the stench that oozes up through the soil from this pit is unbelievable. Like someone cooking turds or something. Prior to Gorillaz, the most recent owners were a bunch of Hell's Angels, a biker gang who called themselves the Nomads, who used the building as their clubhouse. One night back in '93, they held a massive party and invited Hell's Angels from all over the Midlands. The local police chief reckoned there must have been nearly 2,000 bikers crammed into the hangar room of basement number 3. However, when some of their meth-drinking frolics went haywire, a fire started. Someone had locked the main doors, so no one could escape.
They all got burnt to a crisp.
Murdoch explains the appeal.
Kong Studios is so stuffed full of dead stuff, bad karma, and sick vibrations. It's no wonder that the place lay vacant for so long, you know.
It was in the September of '98 when the fledgling but aging rock star Murdoch Nichols picked the keys up, and from that day forward, Gorillaz and Kong were married together eternally.
Bargain! The Kong Studios can do strange things to a man. It seems to be a magnet for weirdness, the paranormal, the malcontent, and me. But it has an effect on everyone who enters. Seriously, you know, check the place out. It's full of these freaks. Apparently, one night, Lenny Kravitz turned up and rested his balls in the face of a gay polar bear. I love this gaff. It makes Batman's place look shit. Although the weather's always pretty grim around here. Always.
So much of the Gorillaz' entire existence has been played out at Con Studios or Grease Noodle. It has been a pivotal part of our lives. It seems sometimes like the building is impossible to escape from. But more of that later. Let's get back to the main story. Where were we? Oh, yes. The Gorillaz are just about to make their first album. Extracted from The Rise of the Ogre by Gorillaz, published by Penguin Books.